This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. How's everybody doing this evening? I hope you're doing well. Tonight's live stream is going to be about the coming civil war, which it sounds like there's an easy way to prevent from this country's destruction, from the people destroying themselves. Anyway, we're going to talk about all that tonight, so it should be a good live stream. But anyway, yeah, they captured this Tyler Robinson. You know, can you imagine coming home from an assassination, doing an assassination, and your dad stops you at the door, who had retired law enforcement, and said, "What the hell did you just do?" Okay. Yep. Today's world, right? And then it sounded like he got radicalized rather quickly and stuff. The thing is, when we start holding these people responsible, I mean, these kids are on mind-altering drugs, okay? And I'm not talking the illegal ones. And they can get convinced to do crazy stuff. Now, did he act alone and stuff? I don't know. You know, all the details that are going to come out about it, about his roommate being asked to go pick up the rifle, and you know, and it definitely looked like the guy in the background. I did look at the video. It definitely did look like he was celebrating and looking up to where the shooter was, like, "Yeah, you did it. You got him." But the thing I liked about it best is if the FBI had social media basically solving the crime, where it came from, who manufactured it. They already had this guy's social media had already pretty much pinged this guy as one of the prime suspects. Anyway, but was he transgender? I still don't know that. There's a lot of details I'm not hearing that I'm curious about. And then the left trying to sit there and play down the BLM, you know, slogans and stuff like that. But anyway, that's what you deal with these days. I'm still waiting for some people to show up. I guess YouTube has got me down in lockdown. I may have to sit there to start the stream over. Nobody? Really? I'm just sitting there talking to the algorithm. Anyway, but we'll sit there and discuss the suspect a little bit more. But you know, the thing about the whole, where they see him running across the roof after the shooting and the jumping off the roof, the school roof, where's the gun? Where's the gun that he hid in the bushes? Where's the gun that obviously it looked like he had in his pant leg walking to the school, that one doorbell footage they had? I was curious. There's a lot of things that don't add up. A lot of things. Anyway, I ain't getting nobody here. Can I get a 5x5? Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Oh, I got somebody. I thought maybe I was going to sit there and talk to myself the rest of the night. But see, this is the thing about censorship. Well, one reason this happened with Charlie Kirk is because people are silenced from telling the truth to people that need to hear it. If this kid would have been allowed to hear the truth, like, you know, this Tyler Robinson would have been allowed to hear the truth, like he was allowed to hear all the propagandist lies, maybe he wouldn't have ruined his life. And talk about ruining your life beyond reason. Presidential scholarship, $32,000 for a 4-year scholarship. Then I realized, you know, the parents probably had to pay twice, just as much, right? It didn't sound like it came from a well-to-do family. I mean, 6-bedroom house. He had his own Dodge Charger and stuff. You know, it doesn't sound like he was living too bad. But then again, the women that Charles Manson seduced and just totally turned their brains into mush came from well-to-do families too now, didn't they? But anyway, the people that are causing these young minds, whether it be the people that push legal drugs, those companies, or the teachers that go to school with all this multicolored hair and stuff, people need to be held responsible. Anyway, I mean, you can't have a teacher. When I went to school, you were taught to read, write, do arithmetic, you're taught history, you're taught how to do your taxes. You learn morals at home, okay? But everybody, like you say, was small town. Back then you could be Democrat or Republican, you didn't have this shit going on. But they all cared about the future of the children. And teachers weren't whacked out like they are now. And you definitely didn't get in trouble for voicing your opinion, especially if it supported a supporting opinion about the Constitution or anything about this country, the founding documents and stuff, like you are now. I can't even imagine being in a government or a civics class where you have to be quiet because you're more of a patriot than the teacher is, because they want to teach communism. But yeah, this kid threw his whole life away. Whole life. Gone. Poof. A bright future. All these politicians that are screaming this violence. All these content creators on these social media platforms that are screaming for this violence. You're just encouraging people that are not right in the head anyway to do violence. Now, what made this kid snap? Who knows? Maybe he was sat in a room for a week straight with lights flashing in his eyes with the screen he had to look at the whole time. The way communists do it. But it sounds like he got radicalized really quick. The thing is, if this kid does... All I know is if it's a high conspiracy, Israeli, Mossad, all that other stuff job, then he's going to be off, just like Lee Harvey Oswald was. But if it's not, if it's just, a kid that had a really good plan and, he went to the school and stuff, so he obviously probably, that probably wasn't the first time he jumped off that roof. I'm sure he practiced it more than once. But like I say, where was the gun? Where was the gun? I mean, jumping off a building is hard enough. Carrying a gun at the same time with a backpack and stuff, okay? Whatever. Just a lot of stuff ain't gonna make sense. We're not gonna hear the whole truth. But I'm so glad Kash Patel was there to take the credit this morning. Between him and Pam Bondi, when they get out of office, they need to sit there and start up. Hey, J99, yeah, I took care of our little problem. If it does show up tonight, I'll not make him a moderator, and you can sit there and I'll give you the privilege of wrenching him over the head, okay? But he should be back. But anyway, I'm talking, since I finally have some people show up. I tell you what, does YouTube send you a notification at all? I mean, do you get anything saying that I went live? God, I wish Trump would do something about this censorship. Okay, like I say, if this kid, instead of only getting to hear radical, stupid stuff, sometimes you get notifications, and he was allowed to hear the truth, to contradict. If you're allowed to hear other ideas that contradict what you're thinking, it doesn't make you, it just reasserts your beliefs. I mean, anybody with half a brain can listen to somebody that has mental illness and, reassert. When I have somebody that thinks that men can have babies tell me I'm crazy, that reasserts me that I'm sane, not insane. It's just that way. But this kid, they're not allowed to hear the truth. And then when when the truth contradicted too much what he was brainwashed with, he took the ultimate act. This is why we can't be silent. I mean, this just motivates me more. Like I say, let these wussies come after me. Charlie Kirk, brave man, he knew he was a target. I still can't believe these security guys are so stupid. I mean, these famous people need to start hiring not these college-educated morons, but some military grunt, either Army or Marine Corps that spent time in a foxhole. And say, hey, can you protect me? Yeah, I got it, no problem. Because these people can't even seem to... Why wasn't there somebody on the roof? You got a roof 160 yards, I think the shot was. It wasn't 200 yards. And they make it sound like, oh, this shot was just so impossible. J99, you know as well as me. I'm sure you qualified in the Army just like I qualified in the Marine Corps. I don't know how far you had to go out. We had to go out the total of 600 yards with that piece of shit M16. But a 160 yard with a 30-06 with a scope, and I guess I could call myself a professional shooter. I guess I never really realized that term, because then I was a professional shooter when I was about 10 years old, and we'd be driving down the road and these striped pocket gophers, these striped gophers in the springtime would sit there and stand up in the grass because it wasn't quite tall enough yet, well over 100 yards with a 22, we'd ping them in the head with open sights. That's why I knew this guy wasn't no professional shooter, because at 160 yards at 30-06, and obviously he had to practice with it, because the 30-06 has a hell of a kick. It's something you gotta get used to. But he may have been a little put it on target and got apprehensive and a little nervous as he is pulling the trigger. Trigger pull, could have sit there, whatever. Anyway, I hear you. Our daughter is an expert. Yep. That thing with what was the, how far in the Army? What was your total range you had to go? We did it from 300 yards. From 200 yards, we did offhand, kneeling, and then we did a rapid fire at 200 yards kneeling. And then 300 yards, we did our slow fire at kneeling, and our rapid fire at in the prone, and then 5 and 6 were in the prone position, and they were just slow fires. So anyway, but I tell you what, if you can hit a silhouette at 600 yards with that piece of shit M16, you sit there on the range and you have one flag blowing this way, one flag blowing that way, one flag blowing at you, with a bullet that you can sit there and go, and you can sit there and deflect it. Anyway, us Marines, we like playing in sand, right? Okay. Get a piece of sand in that piece of shit. God, I hated that gun. I hated that rifle. I hated that rifle. I hated that rifle. I'll take a hunting rifle any day. Anyway, but yeah, so anyway, like I say, the people that helped radicalize this normal kid 3 years ago, we got a problem in our colleges. I tell you what, if your kid's in college, make sure you call them every day. What'd your teacher say today? Every single day. So you start noticing the signs right away if they're getting pulled off their trail. You just can't sit there and let your kids go to college and forget about them no more. Every day. Monitor their posts still. You see anything goofy, jump them about it. Anyway. But I've been hearing, let's get into the subject about the Civil War. and what it may look like. Okay, I've been hearing a lot of stuff coming from conservative, Republican, mega social media platforms that, I realize people are angry, but you can't sit there and say all of a sudden that you were for the First Amendment and freedom of speech, and now you think it needs to have restrictions like Hillary Clinton said because Charlie Kirk got killed. It's a bad thing. But because something bad happened, it doesn't sit there and mean we need to take our rights away from us. They need to be reaffirmed. And this is the thing. Why are we in this mess? Because of the politicians and their stupid policies and all this. See, all this transgender shit. I mean, they're flying the pride flag at the White House. They have finally felt that they have been completely accepted. They got it where they could live their lifestyle and everybody was going to accept them. That's what they always go for, right? To be accepted. Well, if you liked yourself and you liked the way you were, you don't need somebody else to accept you, okay? But anyway, I don't like hearing it. Our rights are a double-edged sword. I'm against complete. I don't believe a restriction. If you sit there and want to restrict somebody's First Amendments because violence may come because of it, like I say, if we would have started standing up as a nation 5 years ago, Charlie Kirk wouldn't be dead now, would he? How many more people are going to die before we have to stand up? But see, once we start fixing the problem, we can't deal with this shit no more. I mean, these people, these communists, see, they call us fascists all the time, right? Fascist. Who hates a fascist the worst? Who hates a fascist the worst? Anybody? That would be communist. So anybody who calls you a fascist is calling themselves a communist at the same time. And it's the age-old war, the fascists against the communists, with the peace-loving people in the damn middle. And we're reliving the same shit that started World War II. But the thing is, we have to put it down. All we have to do. Am I live again? Can I get a 5x5? YouTube's playing games with me. Back to what I was saying. The Constitution and communism can't exist. They can't coexist. It's impossible. The communists know this. And this is why this is why they call us fascists and try to relate us to fascists. Because the communists still think they're fighting fascism. Fascism wasn't freedom. They were just two different ideas of communism and fascism are just two different ideas of dictatorship. And like I say, the peace-loving people are just in the middle. But they know they got to have their communist revolution like they did in 1919. It ain't going to take long to put these people down. They need to be called out. The next time they sit there and have a protest, well, we need, when your enemies, what did that piece of shit Attorney General under Obama say? When you hit us, we kick you lower, or however he said it. They're thinking we need to start thinking the same way. If you ain't willing to use what the enemy's using to take you down, then your enemy's going to take you out. I'm not going to call you a fascist. I will call you a predator defender if you never talk about Epstein, how mega are covering for them. You need to watch some of my content, sir, because I got plenty of videos on how upset I am about how I've been brainwashed about a hoax. Okay? I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal or a MAGA. I'm a constitutional conservative. Yes, I did vote for Trump, but I believe there's a list. And this is the thing, like I say, if we just start arresting people that have broken laws in this country, especially really bad people, even if it clears out DC, our problem's solved. See, that's one way we can sit there and fix our country, by not having a war. If we just enforce our laws on the criminals that broke it, instead of this, basically the new phrase I came up with. Remember in 2008, too big to fail? Well, now it's to fail, too big to jail. Before you make a comment on my channel, go see some of my other comment. I hate it. If you sit there and tell the truth about one side, they sit there and accuse you of being on the other side. I got mega up the ass acting like a bunch of pricks to me. Okay? The mega hates me worse than the liberals right now. But any liberal who can sit there and watch, see what happened, see a man gunned down in front of his wife, his can you imagine that therapy that 3-year-old daughter's going to need? These pieces of shit don't care. You want to sit there and celebrate this crap? You're the one with the mental illness. It's a bad time. I just really mad that all the hypocrites are praising Kirk and won't say, yeah, see, this is the thing. When I heard Charlie Kirk got orders basically from the White House to calm Mega down over that, I said, this is bullshit. But, I just basically stopped listening to him. But that doesn't mean I wanted him killed, because I'm not going to sit there and cut the man down. The man did what he did. I believe the list exists. I have children and grandchildren. Like I say, I've been on live stream now 22 minutes. How many kids all over the world in the last 22 minutes have been abducted for terrible things that happened to them? Because Trump's won't come out and tell the truth. This is why I made a short. I said, I don't care if he walks on water. If he won't release the list, he's nothing but a little minion of the devil. When you can sit there and allow children to be hurt and know about it and do nothing about it. Just like, I'm not going to get into the Epstein thing, but just watch some of my stuff, okay? I got one channel canceled because my Lone Wolf Prepper channel, because I got down on the Democrats too much. They canceled my channel. Like I say, I'm a political atheist. I'm a constitutional conservative. I'm like George Washington. I don't like political parties. It's just a way to divide Americans. All right? When you go run for office, you should be asked, how do you interpret the Constitution? What are you going to do constitutionally when you go to office? And they need to get rid of just a lot of things need to change in this country. Anyway, let's get on to the Civil War thing. Anyway, hey, if you like the channel, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe and the bell notification so I can help get the word out. Because I'm not afraid to say it, just like Charlie Kirk. I'm not here on my keyboard in my mama's basement trying to act like a tough guy. I'm right here talking to you. This is my face talking to you. This ain't AI shit. This is a simple, humble, trying to be poor guy that just wants to live an easy life, and I have it out here. And I wish other Americans could sit there and enjoy the same freedom I do. Like I say, watch some of my shorts. When you live in a county that has less than 2,000 people in it, my closest neighbor is 2.5 miles away. So, but when I was up in the pastures of northern Nebraska, up in the Panhandle there, There's only like 1,000 people in that county, and that county's like 3 times the size of a normal county. That's really spread out. But that's where I feel freedom. So anyway, the coming civil war. Yes, people are upset, but I don't. If we want to have a civil war, I got sidetracked by these channels, conservative channels that are basically, hey, I'm willing to sit there and have restrictions on our amendments now, our Bill of Rights. I don't go with that. But what's the civil war going to look like? It's going to depend on where you live. If you live in a blue city, like Portland and Seattle, you're outnumbered. Get out. San Francisco, get out. Chicago, get out. New York, I'm sure you'll have pockets there that are able to take care of business by themselves. But anyway, it's going to, big cities are going to, not only are you going to turn into chaos, that means nobody's going to be bringing supplies in. All the normal things that people, we're going to have chaos, but the restaurants are still going to be open. No. But all of a sudden, 36 hours later, you're going to have a ton of other problems that people are fighting over. And people are just going to get more angry and angry and angry and more divisive and divided. So get out. Make plans. I would have plans. It may simmer until next spring, but during the winter, I'd be packing my bags and finding some other way where to live. Get out. Let the liberals take over the big cities because they can't take care of themselves. And after 30 days, they're all going to be dead anyway. Why fight a battle with people that are going to be dead in 30 days anyway? Just make sure they can't get out of there. But now, and then one thing in the big cities too, you can be dealing with roadblocks. Whether it be military, some other government, or some warlord that think he's trying to be a government, you're going to deal with a lot of stuff that, crazy stuff. It's going to be pockets. We can have lines like they did in the first Civil War. Okay, now how is it going to be supplied? Now, one of the big factors is what side is the government going to take? Would they sit there and just say, hey, we can't bring troops in this, you guys got to sell it yourselves? I don't think they'd ever do that. But what side is the government going to take? Or will the government use that as an excuse for their own agenda and completely take over? It's going to be a crazy time. But the cities are going to be crazy madhouse and not just the cities, highly populated areas. Whether people say, well, I'm rural, but my closest neighbor is maybe a quarter mile away, if they're lucky. That's not rural. Okay? Not compared to the way I live. You still have a lot of people concentrated in one area. Places like out Washington State, or places where all these liberals move to these conservative states, they're going to have their liberal pockets. One of them would be like Republic, Washington, an old gold mining town that got taken over by the other side. I personally know that one. Anyway, but out here in the country, see, it all depends on what the government does. Like you say, if they decide, let's say they side with conservatives, and we wipe out our opponent, put them on their knees, make them say uncle, and they'll be good the rest of their lives. Then what? See, this thing, we already started a war. Does that mean the government can just sit there and take out their enemies on our side too? It's a slippery slope we're going down to. And this is one thing the left doesn't realize. With all this hate they have, they don't realize how bad of a can of worms they can open up for everybody. no matter what side you're on. But out here, where we don't have a lot of people, how would they control it out here? I think they'd have to use a lot of drones. I mean, you're not going to sit there and send, let's say, even 500 troops to secure an area that you're only securing maybe 3,000 people. But it's that big area. I mean, that'd be impossible. You'd run out of troops too fast. So I think they'd have to use autonomous, like those AI drones that they used in that one big, Ukraine used in that big one attack, that are autonomous and can sit there and pick out their own targets. I mean, I can't even believe we're talking about this. This is Terminator shit. Anyway, it's gonna get bad everywhere. But the one thing we have out here is we don't need the supply chain as much as big groups of people do. Largely, most of us out here are definitely got months worth of food supply, because that's just the way people live out here. I mean, we can get hard, just the way people live out here. We prepare, take care of our animals, and we prepare for ourselves. I mean, when we sit there and we'll sit there and prep for our animals all winter, right? To make sure they have food for all winter by at least, September or October, but we're not going to make sure we don't. What kind of person would think like that? But, I look at the open, calm fields right now, relaxing here in my chair, in my second home, my camper. I don't know, I just sit out here sometimes to relax. Guess it must make me feel like I'm on vacation, huh? But, and how things could be different next week. I mean, Tuesday night, it kind of eats at me a little bit. Tuesday night, I made a video on my live stream. And I was playing cards, and I was mocking people that, everything's great, don't worry about it, just sit down and play cards. And I was mocking everybody who didn't realize how bad things were. That they said I get too excited, I need to calm down. We can't do nothing about it anyway. So I did a mocking live stream. That's what that was. It was teasing conservatives and vets and patriots to say, hey, if everything was so great, just watch it. And then the next day, Charlie Kirk gets killed, and all of a sudden I hear people talking more radical than me. I guess their line was finally crossed in the sand, right? Somebody finally had to get killed. You say, if we would have sat there and maybe did something about this years ago, when we knew what was happening on these college campuses, these teachers need to be held accountable. These administrators need to be held accountable. If that kid was as straight and normal as he was when he went to college, and then, 3.5 years later, a little over 3 years later, he's assassinating Charlie Kirk? That's some serious brainwashing, people. Many people have no idea what things going on. Yeah, but a lot of people are waking up. Like I say, I have seen so many videos of Democrats now saying they'll never vote Democrats. Liberals are done being liberal. They cannot support this. I mean, if you're a father and you saw that video, it can do nothing but make you angry, especially if you got a little daughter, you got little kids, and how you would feel if your kids had to. It's just a tragedy. These they have no morals. They don't want to live in reality. But the people who radicalize this kid, they need to be brought up on some type of charges. Like I say, if we start enforcing the law, and there's laws against men walking into women's private spaces, especially in school. Just because you say you're mentally ill and you think you're a woman, you can do it? Since when does being mentally ill give you the right to commit a crime? When did that happen in this country? When? There's so many things we need to fight. The evil in this country. Like I say, this is a spiritual war now. These people are filled with demons, the devil. You got demons as their teachers, filling their head full of this crap. You got demons that these social media platforms push to fill their heads full of this crap. Well, everybody else that has a good heart and is filled with Christ. You know, just like in school, you can't pray to God, but you can can't even say God, but you can pray to the devil all day long. What kind of goddamn society do we live in? You know, I realize that freedom in religion in this country also means freedom to worship the devil if you want. Yes, that is perfectly acceptable. But according to our culture, I won't say acceptable, that's perfectly within your rights. But in our culture, that's not acceptable. Just like all this weird behavior these people do that we're supposed to be tolerant of. I mean, I don't think Christ was very tolerant. I know God is one of the most tolerant beings there is, but eventually he gets his fill too. Yep. Then I sit there, like I say, make that video mocking people sitting on their ass doing nothing. And then I'm getting videos from these people that I listen to that were calm are now saying that, yes, we need restrictions on the First Amendment because I feel this way because Charlie Kirk was killed. Let's not get so out of it that we start acting like the other side. Let's not be the French Revolution that started out something good and then imploded it on itself and everybody just started killing everybody. The shooter is on the right. He's a grouper. He's not on the right. He's a left lunatic. Antifa. Whatever, okay? You want to think he was a conservative? Go for it, okay? Like I say, I'm sure you probably heard it on a lefty thing or on the news. If you're that stupid, like I say, you can't fix stupid. But eventually these people will wake up themselves. Hey, Sonny, how's it going? How's it going? Yep. No, I think the shooter, yeah, he was on the right, but he was just shooting off a celebration shot that hit him in the neck, right? Remember that on your CNN shit? I mean, what with the left? You're dancing. I mean, okay. Is not the left celebrating their asses off? So what you're telling me you're going to celebrate for what a right-winger did? Is that what you're telling me? Let me throw a little logic at you. You're full of shit. Okay? Think a little bit past the sandbox, and you might figure this one out. And that's probably a comment from somebody who's going to college. Hey, I got a question for you. Can a man get pregnant? Well, I mean, I've heard the answer. Well, I don't know. That's kind of a controversial question. Somebody in their fourth year of college asking them if a man can get pregnant is a controversial question. Boy, I could have told you that. Definitely by first grade that the answer is no to that. Probably told you in kindergarten. No, because then again, you know, I grew up on a farm and I knew there were animals that got animals pregnant, and the animals that got pregnant had babies. It's just the one thing you figure out. But I guess, you know, like I say with politicians, you know, some people can read the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and in the Bill of Rights and understand them. They're called patriots. And some people need to go to college for 8 years to study these documents, and they still don't understand them. They're called politicians. Isn't that correct? No matter how much of a sledgehammer you use, you cannot make them understand the phrase, shall not be infringed. What does that mean? That means I get to have all the armed guards surround me I want, and nobody else allowed to have a gun. That's what that means. My safety shall not be infringed. Anyway, but yeah, the Civil War, I don't know. The thing is, I don't want to call it Civil War. We need to call it the Constitutional War. Okay, the left communists, like I say, they call us fascists because what a communist hates the worst is a fascist. That's why these communists, when they say fascist to us, they're calling themselves communists. Okay? They want to get rid of they want to overthrow the Constitution. Not our government, our Constitution. See, as long as people like me know that document is still protecting me, I will fight for it. And when it doesn't exist for me, I will still be fighting for the idea of freedom. Okay? Best suds, I tell you what, you guys keep saying that Trump 2028. Okay, in a democracy, in a constitutional republic, that can't happen. In a democracy, it can. In a democracy, who's going to be Trump's running mate? That would be Barack Obama. Anyway, it's time. I know. It's time. Organize. This channel is about organizing. Get together with like-minded people. Get a vet. If you don't know somebody that was in the military or you got somebody in the military, and start creating your fire teams. 3 fire teams to a squad with a squad leader. 3 squads to a platoon. 2 platoons to a company. Okay? 3 companies to a battalion with a headquarters battalion. Start forming it. We need cooks. We need mechanics. We need men that aren't afraid to get the frickin' hands dirty. Okay? Start organizing. I mean, this ain't going to kick off tomorrow. And then there's lots, like I say, there's lots of ways we could end this without violence. One thing about exercising our Second Amendment rights is to use a show of force with it. Meaning that if militias start openly being filmed, training, actual training, okay, with the U.S. flag there and stuff, showing our politicians in a peaceful way that we're not going to take this shit. We are preparing, wide open, if you want to call them practicing war games or whatever, so they can see it. So our politicians start realizing that they need to fear us. That the average man like Charlie Kirk isn't going to be the one that has to fear anymore. Our politicians need to be spanked. All right? So they sit there and start respecting us again. What does that even mean? Why? Them own guns and know how to use them, you fool. Okay, Alan. You gonna talk to this Marine and say that shit? Okay, what was that one group led by that black guy? And every time they get together, they end up shooting them. Somebody end up shooting one of another. Don't tell me about guns. Anybody who thinks that shot that guy took at Charlie Kirk was a hard shot doesn't know a fucking thing about guns. With that gun he had in the distance, in the clear line of sight, that was like throwing a rock into a pond that you were standing in. And good, I'm glad you Dems got guns. Because let me tell you about us vets. Us conservative vets. We can take over these military bases. and run all the guns up to machine guns, run the jets, run the tanks. We know the tactics. I'm glad you got guns. Do you know the first thing about tactics, fool? The first thing? Pew, 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 pew. Fucking dumbasses. I mean, there's a reason why the military trains. What do you think we do all fucking day when we're not in actual retarded shit? We're training every day, learning new ways of doing shit to kill people and blow shit up. So I hope you Dems are prepared for crazy-ass Marines like me who know how to kill people and blow shit up. Professionally taught and experienced. These fucking piece of shit Democrat Call of Duty frickin' warriors. They have no clue what they're asking. But see, this is the thing. It's time for us to engage them. We need to engage them and show them that they have woke up the sleeping giant and we have had enough. Your lifestyles have impeded on my pursuit of happiness too much. And now we're going to put an end to that shit. And since the government doesn't want to protect our pursuit of happiness, we're going to do it. All right? This will never be a communist country. You guys maybe got 5% of you that are willing, and maybe out of that 5%, you maybe got 0.5% that may have some type of tactical skills against the biggest military in the world. That would be all the vets that the United States has created over the last 35 years, like me. So go ahead. Go ahead. But it's time for it. Like I say, I got to sit there. Hey, if you like the channel, I see I got a few people here. Hit that thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification, because I'm here to fucking speak. I'm not going to be like Charlie Kirk and be nice and debate with trying to sit there and not hurt their damn feelings. You want to be a moron and come on my channel? I'll treat you like that. Okay? Who killed Charlie? A white, yeah, but yeah, exactly, somebody who was radicalized. And I'm sure he was taking illegal pharmaceuticals. But don't worry. Who shot up the school in Minnesota? The church in Minnesota. Another radicalized, weak-minded white guy. A beta male. Now, does everybody see the problem with beta males? Everybody not only see they're physically soft, but they're mentally soft because they've never been challenged physically or mentally, ever? And then you get somebody with a con man type attitude, personality, cons them into doing stupid shit. Yeah, I'd agree there were white, soy boy, beta males. Anyway, you guys need intervention. Bring it on all day long. This is why the Civil War is coming. These two ideologies, the American culture and this communist ideology, can no longer coexist. It's impossible. We can't work with these people. You can't reason with these people. Once they are too far off the fell too far off the potato wagon, they can't be helped. Institutionalizing them isn't going to help. Like I say, bad policies from our politicians and our Constitution not being followed. This is why we got this shit, okay? We need the military in every blue city and state. The thing is, okay, all he's got to do He promised to drain the swamp. If he drains the swamp, it makes public everything that they're charged with. It will correct this problem because it's going to shock people into being good. They're going to see how evil the people in charge of us were, how we've been led astray. All we got to do is enforce the laws of this country. That's it. It may be mega, you need to start calling for that. Light up Trump's phone and say, release the goddamn list. They don't need to release the list. Just start arresting these people. We'll figure it out. You know, when the charges are named for what these people are arrested for, we'll figure it out. We don't need a list. These people, and that's nothing. Why release the list? Then you're just going to put these people in danger. When the truth comes out about what these people done, it's going to be hard to keep them safe in a maximum security prison. Because let's say a lot of people are going to be extremely angry. But that's all we need to do, is enforce the laws of this country. Follow the Constitution. Hell, will we have an immigration problem? No. Will we have a monetary problem? No. A lot of our problems will go away. Are you actually advocating for locking people up without a process? When did I say? I said they broke laws. They need to be charged. They need the full process of the law. When did I say locking them up without due process? I just think the military needs to round them up. And then, believe me, they need all the due process they're going to need because they're guilty of sin. No, I think they should, whatever. If you support these people in the E-list and all this, you know, yeah, Epstein was a intelligence asset. There's no doubt about it. Probably an agent for many countries. Israel, Germany, France, England, us, maybe even Canada. But truth has come out. Too big to fail, too big to jail has to end. Okay? But anybody, I'm here telling people that I'm not happy with right-winger, MAGA right now getting on here saying that, yeah, now they agree with there needs to be restrictions on the First Amendment. Are you nuts? No restrictions on any amendments. The idea of the Bill of Rights was, in the preamble, basically says, when the federal government starts infringing on these 10 amendments, then it's time to invoke the Declaration of Independence. Okay? They're not allowed to infringe on our 10 amendments. But, I guess now we got, because the people are so upset and not thinking with a clear head, that they're willing to sit there and act not constitutionally, that they think it's going to solve the problem. Okay, what about 20 years from now? How do you solve problems? A free exchange of ideas and enforcing the laws of your country. We are no longer a land of laws. We have become a land of men. That's one reason we have our problems in this country. And people keep trying to turn our constitutional republic into a democracy. That's another reason we have a lot of problems in this country. And another problem is we have now a democratic and a republican democracy, two separate democracies that we all got to deal with. Am I wrong? I mean, read the Constitution. According to the Constitution, every once in a while, Congress is supposed to release to us to the public on how public money is spent, that meaning taxes. Do you think our country would be $38 trillion in debt if we were allowed that? Constitutionally, we were allowed to have all the information Elon Musk had in Doge. They're supposed to release that to us. How many crimes do you think we'd find in our government if we were allowed to follow the money trail? Anyway, there's a lot of reasons this country's in trouble. Because we lost our way, people. Freedom was something that was... see, freedom is something you got to work for. Freedom is, you know, it's like if you're a good-looking person and you do all this stuff to maintain your beauty, right? Just do everything to work out, makeup, do all this extra time to maintain your beauty. And it works. That's the same thing with freedom. If you don't work to maintain it, you'll lose it. So, you know, if we and everybody got soft, you know, hey, I don't have to worry about really that anymore. The government will worry about Social Security. They'll help me with my retirement. I got to worry about being personally responsible about that no more. And then the return you get on is bullshit. You know, the government sold us with conveniences and slowly take away our freedoms. Anyway, yeah, the war's coming. So prepare. Sonny, gear so what? What was supposed to mean? He's a pedo, you dummy. You know, I think Americans, the only thing they're really learning now, really good, is how to hate. That's the only thing I really think Americans excel at now, is hate. Whether it be comments on a social media platform, whether it be assholes that are cheering on Charlie Kirk's death, and then sitting there and try to mess up vigils. You know, people without souls, they're eventually going to find out, but these are some heartless people. And the only way to turn them around is the fear of God. The only way these people are going to go from their Saul to Paul moment is the fear of God. When they fear so much, they realize God exists. That's the fear of God. When you fear that he actually exists. Anyway, I have been on here for almost an hour. I tell you what, J99, are you happy that, I'm telling you, I'm sorry about that. I wasn't watching the chat yesterday, but nobody will you know, you want to disrespect me on this channel, I'm putting myself out here as a target. But if you want to disrespect somebody in the chat because they disagree with, especially one of my monitors, even if you are one of my monitors, If we can't have a free exchange of ideas on this channel without somebody acting like an adult child, we don't have no time for it. We have adult problems here we need to solve. If you haven't got out of your diapers yet, get on the potty chair and figure it out. Well, I appreciate you too, J99, your daughter. She ain't going overseas or nothing, is she? Anyway, none of my kids ever joined the service. I probably want to let them. Exactly what charm, you know. Hey, Amanda, how's it going? Yeah, I tell you what, on this channel, I'm not afraid to say anything. I got a fear, and they're alpha males. I'm a sigma male. That's above alpha. There's no way I'm going to fear a beta male. There's absolutely no way. It's impossible for me. It's against my nature to fear a male that is lesser than me. Okay? And that's who I'm supposed to fear? I don't live in fear. This is the thing, people. I was a Marine. A Marine! You know, when we got the call at 3 in the morning to get on the fucking choppers, do you think I was feeling fear? Is that what you think I was feeling? Far from it. And all you hear is, I need to be afraid of this. You better watch what you say. You know, those sons of bitches want to sit there and come out and try to make me a target. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to sit there and expose myself like that. But I expose myself here. But I'm not afraid to go in front of a crowd either. You know, you little pieces of garbage, worthless little worms. Okay? And that's all you are. You have no integrity. I mean, the reason you're so angry at yourself because you hate yourself. You know you have no ability to succeed. So the only way you can go out with a bang is by destroying somebody who has succeeded. People who fall for the China virus must just live in fear. Oh, I know. You know, I lived in Minnesota, liberal state, right? Never wore a mask. Went to work every day. Never social distance. Never went the directions of the arrows. Never did a goddamn thing. Never got sick. How am I still alive? That was just a game of Simon Says to see who would fall. And they knew they couldn't do nothing to the people that did go for it. But they had to sit there and guilt a lot of people into it. Sorry, I know the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Nuremberg Code. And I'm not going to go into what that is, but go look that up, which protects all citizens of the world from medical tyranny. But why would anybody want to know that? So, yeah, I stood up for myself. And it really upset me a lot to see that a lot of people did. And I got called a lot of things back then, too. But then again, I'm a pureblood. I'm not going to have to worry about 6-foot-long clots in my veins. You got to stand up for yourself, people. You cannot cower in front of these cowards. That just gives them a bigger head so they think they can do it to somebody else. You know, this is, frankly, I'll take it back to, when I was going to school and you were doing stupid shit, other kids teased you and corrected you on your stupid shit. You were faced with the truth. You know, everybody had the same idea of the culture. Nowadays, no. We got to protect everybody. If they want to act stupid, go for it. So, anyway. Oh my God, I've been on for an hour already. Tell you what, I appreciate everybody being here. If you'd like to support the channel, please hit that thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. Anything to help the channel grow. We got bad things coming, you know, and I'm sure one day I won't be on YouTube no more because communication will be something of the past as we know it now. Anything. It's time for us to stand up against this evil. Flat out evil we're dealing with before you got to become a victim. But there's no way I'm ever going to do a live stream again mocking people sitting on their ass doing nothing while I'm playing cards. But I was trying to wake people up. And then the next day, a prominent young man, father, husband, wakes a lot of people up and without happened to it. Anyway, we're all going to have to sacrifice to fix this country. I mean, are you up for the challenge? Or you just want to keep walking down this path because it's the easiest path to take? Anyway. Oh, I got another, a racist. Ooh, a racist. I'm a racist. Why don't you say fascist too? All these people, they come on here and they sit there and watch me for 10 seconds, make a comment when I got well over 1,000 content videos out there to show what kind of person I am. But hey, I guess I sit there and have my first impression of you too, a foolish person. Anyway, this is what we're dealing with. These are the people that when they get woke up from the truth are going to be the ones. When people get woke up from the truth that are really, they're going to be the ones that are sitting in the corner of the building kind of taking everything in, kind of, oh my God, what's going on? Well, everybody else is walking sure of themselves because they see the truth. But these guys are going to experience it for the first time. And like all the liberals that have changed and will never vote liberal again because they saw what happened to Charlie Kirk, because he was basically he's standing up for everybody's freedom of speech. What happened to him? Okay? Every time the left does something stupid, like not standing up to, in that speech Trump gave in Congress and not standing up to applaud and to being divisive there. I mean, every little thing they do just peels off more. And with illegal immigration being stopped, they ain't got no people to fill their ranks. It's time to end the cancer. We never had a better chance to do it. And like illegal immigration, Trump needs to deputize American citizens to clean up their own personal counties and their cities. Not going off your boundaries, but like I say, in this area, take care of your county. If you live in a city, take care of your city. Let people, I know, deport them all. I say I work agriculture, and I got to compete with foreigners. Pissing me off. Because believe it or not, all you people that are lazy dumb fucks, some of us don't mind getting our hands dirty, picking tomatoes, and working with cows and cowboying and stuff. Some of us don't mind sweating in the heat and dressing up in the cold and dealing with snow and 30 below with a 20, 30 mile an hour wind. Some of us don't mind doing that. So stop taking our jobs from us. And I'm sure there's cooks that like cooking and people that will like working in hotels and restaurants that don't want to lose their jobs either. Anyway, like I say, I got a lot of opinions, and I don't agree with any politician because I haven't seen one like George Washington since George Washington. Anyway. Yeah, you're a career welder, exactly. So, I tell you what, me being on a ranch, using those wire feeds with the gas, one time I had to be in the shop for 10 days welding feeders together and stuff. And I tell you what, that gas, I arc weld and stuff as a kid, grew up on a farm. But that wire feed with that gas, it dried my nose out so bad. I mean, that was terrible. Yeah, see, this is the thing. When I grew up on a farm, you had a shop. You knew how to weld. You knew how to use a torch. You knew how to woodwork. You didn't take equipment in to get it fixed like they did these days. You fixed it yourself. You were a mechanic. All these skills now that people go to school for is something I just learned. I mean, I don't need nobody to fix on my vehicles, and I never went to school to be a mechanic, but I've been, working on vehicles a lot of my life. I mean, those gardening, all these skills that people go to school or driving truck. At 14 years old, when it was harvest back then, 14 years old, we were driving straight trucks into the elevator loaded with grain without a license or a farmer's permit because that's what you did to get the harvest done. That's what was expected out of kids back then. And now everybody has to go to college to learn this shit. Anyway, but yeah, carpentry. Learn how to build a house, wire a house, put in a septic system, make the house plans from scratch with a drawing board and a T-square and stuff, and using your rulers and your stencils, knowing all that stuff. I mean, I look back to the knowledge I have. That was just, I feel, a gift given to me that kids in school don't get these days. I mean, they expected us to do it right with no excuses. But then again, our teacher also had our undivided attention, didn't they? Because if we tried to act stupid and disrupt the class, we got immediately punished and embarrassed and shamed. So we never did it again. Like I say, there's ways to fix this country. But is everybody going to have enough courage to enforce all the laws of this country? Okay? We didn't have phone. I mean, like I say, I graduated in 1986. I mean, we were just starting Apple basic computer classes. I took 2 years of computer in school, but it was Apple basic language. Okay? And then when I got in the military, I learned machine language and stuff, which really is the only language you need to learn to understand. Because when you understand code, well, but, in the military it was different. But anyway, yeah. All this stuff that I took for granted for knowing, people are clueless these days. And that's what makes them more dependent on the system. Okay? The easiest way to make somebody a slave is uneducate them. And they will become dependent. Anyway. Hey, J99, how's it going? Hey, I need to get out of here, guys. It's been an hour and 12 minutes. It's Friday night. I want to put a little bit of Dukes of Hazzard and watch Daisy Duke tonight with the Duke boys. I tell you what a time to grow up. What a time to grow up. The 80s was the best. Anyway. Yeah, I got the seasons of the Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, I haven't watched the new show. The last new show I watched on TV was My Name is Earl. That was well over 20 years ago. And I didn't watch it on TV. I started watching it on Netflix, I think. But before that, it was Third Rock from the Sun. And then before that, it was MASH. So, yes, times have changed. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go put the old Duke boys in. So I guess, what does that make me a racist now too, because I watch the Dukes of Hazzard? When you're mentally ill, you can associate anything with your mental illness. Anyway, everybody have a great Friday evening. This is Tom with the Hidden Truths channel. I'm out of here.